I'm Craig Beaumont Flynn. Welcome to Beyond the Design, a show that gives you a peek behind the curtain of the design industry and shares the stories of those that are the driving force behind it. Well, welcome to Beyond the Design today. We have Ryan White. Good afternoon, Ryan.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. This is actually my first podcast. So
Wow.
You're taking my podcast virginity. So this is very exciting.
Oops. Don't tell anyone. Well, I don't know where to go from there, but anyway, tell us about your story and getting into the design industry, Ryan.
Great. So I've had my design firm, Ryan White Designs, for the last about 14 years. I moved from New York City to Los Angeles. I was an actor and a model living in New York for about 7 years. And before that, I was living in Montana, attending university. And I was scouted by some agents while on campus, which got me to New York, where I was able to kind of find this new filled life of creating art in a different way between acting and modeling. And then I decided, let me give this a shot in Los Angeles as I was booking more work out in this area. Quickly after I moved to LA, someone came to my home for a dinner party and had said, "Hey, look, I love your style. I love your house. Would you do our home in Malibu?" And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not a designer. And they're like, "No, I think you are. Like, your house is beautiful." And I always loved design, and being that I was in New York surrounded by a bunch of creative people, whether it was from Ralph Lauren or Tom Ford or these people in the industry that I was kind of intimately involved with.
Right.
I think that really was my education into this foray of really, really, really cultivated, high-end kind of luxury. So I say, I didn't go to school for design, but I definitely went to some sort of design school just by the world I was living in, in New York. And then I think my sensibilities of being from Colorado and Montana really I just merged those two worlds together when I started this first project. So when they asked me to do the home in Malibu, I said, this could be a fun challenge. I was 26. I thought, let me just see if this is something I like. My dad owned a construction company growing up, so I was familiar a little bit in that behind the scenes realm of design. So I did the house in Malibu. It was about a $10 million weekend home on the beach. That house ended up getting published. I then won it's called the Next Wave Design Award by House Beautiful magazine. So I thought to myself, well, darn,
I guess I got it.
I guess maybe I should do something. And I was looking for a creative outlet in a different way too. I thought the modeling and acting was good, but this felt even more spot on to what I wanted for my soul, I guess, as an artist and as a business person, because I do consider myself equal parts business and equal parts design. So I did that project, which then, like I said, allowed me to discover that, hey, this could be a business. And I started Ryan White Designs in 2000, 13 years ago, whenever that is. So, okay, what is that?
10.
Yeah.
Count with my fingers.
I was almost thinking the year I graduated high school. So, well, that doesn't sound right. So I was able to jump into that world. And since then, I've been able to do many beautiful projects here in LA, Malibu, Beverly Hills area. I'm also now doing a very, very large project in Malibu, which is about a 3.5 acre compound that we've been working on for a little bit over 3.5 years now. And that's the completion of that will be probably around March of this new year. But that was a very fun project to kind of sink my teeth into because I've been a part of it from the ground up, essentially, doing all of the architectural details, project management, hard surface selecting, and then interiors on top of all of that. So It's a very, I kind of call it my game changing project. I was able to have some really beautiful projects before this, but like I said, this was from like A to Z,
Hmm.
all Ryan White designs, emphasis. And that I think is going to be a really fun one to show and talk about. And just the whole process, I think even like filming this kind of ground up project and being able to relay it through my social media platforms on Instagram, things like that, has been, I think, a fun journey for myself and for any of the people that follow me, just to kind of see the process of what it takes to build a very high level design project.
What encompasses this compound? What's within the 3.5 acres?
So we have a main structure home of around 7,000 square feet. There's a guest house with an attached separate office as well.
Hmm.
And then we've got a barn that we built. We have stables because it's a horse property. And then there's a whole kind of meadow that we actually ended up putting a vintage Airstream on, that we surrounded that by a really beautiful Ipe deck that my clients can kind of pop into during meetings. They're usually traveling all throughout the country and throughout the world, so they kind of come in for site visits, and they stay in this really now beautiful, Airstream that worked kind of as like a almost a second guest house, I guess, if you will.
Right.
And then there's some really beautiful kind of walking trails and fire pits and cool things on that property. So that, like I said, is kind of going to be a fun one to see when it's finally complete. And I'm excited to share that at that time.
Is this your baby?
It really is. Yeah, it
Yeah.
feels like I'm, yeah, definitely giving birth at this point, and every day is something new, especially we're in the really big design detail stages, getting all the interior stuff done,
Hmm.
but selecting even like our beautiful steel and glass doors and windows and we have vintage reclaimed barnwood siding, that's just, there's just so much that's gone into it that is not typical for, let's just say, like a development project, more or less. And my clients are actually going to sell the house now because they are out of the country about 8 months of the year. But the good news is they signed on to do the project as if they were living there. So as far as
Wow.
finishes go and everything, it's really kind of intended as an end user home.
Hmm.
So the purchase of whoever will be coming in to purchase it will be getting something pretty extraordinary in terms of all the finishes and the type of products that we use throughout is again kind of the top level of what you'd want in a design home, but still feels very comfortable and inviting. All my designs kind of, I think, have a warmth to them. I always say, I mean, a Nancy Meyer film, is kind of like the dream for me. I want you to walk in and feel like you're a character within your own home in a
Right.
way, because I want that energy to be flowing, whether it's between your family or your friends. I really think a house should lend itself to make those experiences and feelings that much stronger by just the surroundings that you're living within.
Hmm. So, when you had that dinner party and someone said you should be a designer, is there a specific Ryan White aesthetic look and feel that you've continued to carry on in the past 13 years?
I always say it starts with the bones of the house.
Right.
So if it's a Mediterranean, we would kind of develop a design scheme around that. Also, with an emphasis of potentially what the clients are looking for. I will say I'm pretty lucky that clients come to me and kind of say, "Hey, look, we love your style, we love your sensibility. Tell us what we should do," in a way.
Hmm.
And then we have a natural progression where we start to have a good conversation back and forth of what they enjoy and what they like. Um, but I think the idea about having just one style is always hard for me to answer because I think it is about, it's an all overarching
Hmm.
ability to make a space feel warm and inviting and very inclusive. I never want a space to feel sterile or cold. I want there to be a lot of layers. But again, it depends on the architecture first and foremost. And then I think we develop the design, whether that's, we start with the hard surfaces, materials, all of that first, and then we get into the soft furnishings to add in those extra little layers. But I think my overall take as a designer is, I have an Americana vibe to myself, but being that I'm from Colorado, but being that I spent so much time in New York City and now so much time in Los Angeles, it's a very curated, cultivated sense of design.
How do you approach a new project?
Well, many ways, I guess. I think there's a bit of a list that I try to check off in terms of if it's the right fit, to be
Right.
honest. I have said before, I could have 10 more projects going, I guess, at one time if I was to take on everything that people were wanting me to. But for me, it's, again, based first and foremost on the client themselves. And if I really feel like I want to spend some good time with them, and then also just the project and the surroundings and the team that you're going to be working with, whether that's architects and landscape architects and the contractors. I'm pretty heavy-handed in regards to the selection of most of those things. Again, a lot of times my clients will come to me and I build the team. So I will either hire out the architects. We have an architect on my staff as well. So we implement a lot of things in that realm. We will hire the contractors and interview at least 3 to 5 potential fits, and then move into landscape architecture as well. And same thing, we'd interview a couple of different firms because I think it really starts with kind of being almost the CEO of the project itself and being able to have my hand in all of those kind of jars to make sure that it all really becomes very, very balanced and a really easy experience for my client at the end of the day. Because a lot of times they don't have the time or the knowledge to jump into that realm. So I like to be able to offer that as an additional, I guess, service on top of what we'd be doing anything design wise. But we're really here to help steward and facilitate the project to not only get done on time, but stay within budget, and then also look like there's a cohesiveness to everything, even though there might be some major personalities, if you will, going into it. Because lots of times when you have designers, architects, landscapers, you want to make sure that there's, again, a good synergy between the team. And that's something that I think I do a pretty good job on to make it really enjoyable for everyone.
You need a cohesiveness there, I guess.
Correct, yeah.
Do you like the collective environment? Do you collaborate a lot?
Oh, yeah. I think that's one of the most exciting parts, really. I mean, and then again, but it's about finding the right collaborators.
Right, the right fit.
Yeah. I haven't had too many nightmare experiences on that front, but there's been a few, enough to make me say, okay, wait a minute, like I want to make sure that doesn't happen again. So I found out pretty quick about kind of who's the right people to work with, and also how to vet them in a way that if it's like, that's not really going to suit this project, and then we just we find someone that will definitely work out better.
So besides this current project that you have in Malibu, what was the previous one that was the cherry on the top for you?
Well, so there's something that I finished recently that was totally different from what I'm used to doing. I'm used to working with, very large budgets, very high net worth individuals, and making it more solely based for that singular person or that family. But I recently finished a project for a charity called LA Room and Board, and they are honestly probably one of the best clients I've ever had, because not only were they just exceptionally easy to work with because they really trusted my vision and my process, but what they do is give free room and free meals to homeless youth, and primarily homeless youth that is trying to further their education within, whether that's going to a trade school or a community college or sometimes just a normal college. But these kids are trying to do anything and everything to get to that next step, but they don't have the means to pay rent and to pay for a car and then pay for school. So they find themselves sleeping on couches, sleeping on the streets, crashing in multiple dwellings, like for a week here, a week there. And I don't know about you, but being in school is hard enough, but then having to know where you're going to get your next bed and meal I've never had to experience that, and I would, I don't want anyone to experience that. So what they do is give a free and safe place for these kids to lay their heads at night, to have a community of people that continue to help inspire them, as well as, again, give them 3 meals a day. So when I met the founder of that company, I wasn't quite sure what I was walking into, to be honest. I had a lunch with a friend, and he was saying, "How's design going? How's everything going?" And I said, "It's great. I'm really lucky. I love what I do. I love waking up every day feeling happy about the career I've chosen. But I do wish I could give back in some way. And I find it hard to understand how I can do that with my talents and my abilities." And he said, "You know what? Let's have a lunch with my friend Amanda the next day, and let's just pick her brain because she's a big PR agent." I said, "Great." So that next day we had a lunch, and right from the get-go, without us even saying anything to her, she said she was taking on a client, which happened to be LA Room and Board. They were looking for a designer for this 17,000 square foot facility that they just had purchased in downtown, and they need a designer. And I literally looked at my friend. I'm like, "Is this like a setup? Like, what's happening here?" And she said, "Why are you guys looking at each other like that?" And I said, "Because the conversation we just had yesterday was purely based on wanting to give back and doing something like this." So I was kind of like clamoring, like, "Oh, please, like, let me meet with them. Let me see what it's about." But at the time, she didn't say how large the project was or give me much detail at all. So when I went down to meet the founder, and I realized that they had just purchased this massive 40 bedroom, 30 bathroom facility that, again, was 17,000 square feet. I was walking through this place thinking, "Oh my God, this is like a hotel. This is a very big undertaking." But in that moment, I realized this is something that is a game changer for not only myself, but for the community. And I'd be immensely, kind of proud to be a part of it. So we started that journey. We pretty much, tore through every single part of that space and really made something that kind of rivals even a boutique hotel. We really, really went the extra mile, and I called in as many favors as possible with all my vendors and any artists I've worked with in the past. And we were able to have a ton of people do things for free, whether it be big murals or painting or lighting. It was amazing. So that, again, just finished. They had a big ceremony, and the mayor of Los Angeles came and cut the ribbon. And it was I don't even think I understood how big it was going to be, but it was a few hundred people. And I was like, "Whoa, this is big. This is a big deal. People are really on board for this." And so then that's now we just got photographs, and we actually just sent it over to a very big publication. And fingers crossed that they are going to produce something for us in terms of a big feature. Because I think it's worth it, just to get the word out about this, because there's no reason that these type of facilities should, be having children or anyone live in a place that's just a bunch of white walls. I mean, that's great that they have a free place to live, but why not allow them to feel motivated and kind of develop their sensibilities in a setting that really is applied through the design element?
It's conducive of where they need to be and set their own path to success, and it gives them that, I guess, that boundary of home and comfortable and safe.
Absolutely. And again, like, I know for me personally, living in my own environment is, I get inspired by the things that are around me. So I could only imagine that someone who's living on the street or on a sofa, yes, they're feeling comfortable because it's a safe bed, but why wouldn't they want to sit in a beautiful courtyard and do their work, or sit in a study lounge? We built out a whole podcast room. We built out a barber shop. So these kids, they have people come in weekly to do all their, barber needs. And there's a amazing gourmet kitchen we've done, and a sunroom and a theater room. And we did all these things to just allow them to kind of escape in a good way and take a break from life, but as well as be able to accelerate their kind of sensibilities while they're in that environment.
Take another element of on their shoulder gorilla and the struggles of life away from them so they can enjoy where they need to go. What's the age
Completely.
demographic of
So it's anyone from around, I think the youngest they have, I think, is 17. And then it goes up until like around the late 20s. But some of these kids are also just phasing out of the foster care system because, as you know, I'm sure at 18, you just kind of get signed over to no one, right? So at 18, at 18, I was barely a functioning person, So I think to think that like at 18 you're just cut off from the state,
right?
and left to your own defenses is quite disheartening. So again, they do try to help that element of any sort of child in the foster care system too that is just looking to get on their feet a bit. And
Right.
like I said, they have great mentorships and staff there that help guide them to just getting their first job or taking taking a test or actually how to dress for an interview. They were the other day I popped down there for something and they had a whole photo crew there and they were doing a bunch of kids headshots for LinkedIn. And again, like simple things like that you and I completely would take for granted. Like, oh, I'll get a headshot and put it up on LinkedIn. Like this is stuff that these kids wish just wouldn't know how to do or have the resources to do that. So these are the things that LA Room and Board is constantly doing on a weekly basis to just help propel these students and to having some sort of a touch of an upper hand, if you will, to give them a little bit of balance and grace in that regard.
Also, a little bit of normalcy, I guess. Also,
Yeah.
were any of the youth part of your design process? Did you interact with them prior?
It's interesting. I didn't because no one was. They have two other facilities. This was their newest facility. So it wasn't. They wanted the students to come in at the very beginning or the end of it all, right? Like a big move that bus
Right.
kind of moment, right? And that to me was probably one of, if not the most exceptional moments. I definitely got teary a few times. As we were, announcing this and we had that large party, just to see some of these kids walk through and their eyes were just like over the moon, and that to me was like, and they didn't know who I was, most of them either. So when I would start talking to some of them, like, oh, what do you think? How is this like for you? Would you feel comfortable here? And to hear just the sentiments of what really it meant to them without them even, like I said, implying something on me being the one who designed it. It was just pure, straight from the heart of like what this meant and what this is going to mean for them moving forward. That to this day, like I said, is a moment that I'll never forget and something that I hope to repeat time and time again. We're trying to find other locations and continue to raise money to make sure that this can be something that we can achieve, for years to come.
Once they found out who you were and that you actually designed this, were there any youth that want to get in the design industry that you could potentially mentor?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to Sam, the founder, about that again a few weeks back, and I said, "Hey, I'd love to do," because he had said, there's some kids that keep asking about certain design elements, and I said, I would love to like impart anything on them, and so we're going to set up some sort of a little mentorship of sorts where I'll go in and anyone who would like to be a part of it can, like I said, ask any sort of questions and or just allow me to speak upon the process of how we even decided on a lot of these things, whether it be from the color palettes or the built-ins and just the energy that I wanted to create in the environment. And I do hope that that leads some of them to want to take on a role in the architecture or design community, and hopefully they can work with me and have some internships, or I can pass them along to other people that would be willing to kind of help that process as well.
Well, what you did, Ryan, was incredible and it's much needed. And hopefully it will inspire other designers or people in the industry to get involved and
Sure.
give back. So are you basically residential or do you do commercial as well?
So I've really stuck to residential for most of my career. I did a large PR firm a few years ago. And then, this project, like I said, it felt like we did like a hotel, a boutique hotel in a way. But that's kind of where my path has led me so far. I mean, I would welcome, I guess, commercial projects. Again, it's all about, like I said, the right fit between me and the clients and the team that's being built out. I also have a product line that has taken up an exceeding amount of my time. And unfortunately, I am only one human. So between my design firm and my art, my product line that we launched a little over a year and a half ago, it's a balancing act, trying to find the balance to give energy to both. But yeah.
Tell us about your product line. What made
Yeah.
what made you go in that direction? You're already doing design. You're giving your time back, and now you're doing a product line. Man, about
Yeah.
everywhere.
Well, I just felt like you got one life to live, right?
Right.
So, no, I think it was again, a beautiful kind of just, it was very, I guess, a good synergy of events that transpired. And I have two business partners in my product line. So the company name is Vast Studio. We make concrete bathtubs and sinks, and then we cast them in either textured concretes, plaster, or metal. And these guys were working on this in a kind of a different scale. They were doing really large bars and really beautiful like brass walls in high-end residential projects and also restaurants. And so when I met them, we were almost just chatting as friends about what we do in the world of our design community. And they were looking to maybe get into some sort of product. And tubs and sinks was something that they were kind of embarking on. And they discussed maybe, hey, do you want to do a product, furniture line with our technology? And as I sat about it, I was like, no, I feel like there's not a big white space for that, but tubs and sinks, there is a big white space, or at least there was in my mind, for something architecturally significant and really just, I wanted the thought process to be to design your bathroom around the bath versus the other way around, where designers just kind of stick in a white bathtub at the end of the project or the end of the design process. So we really think about it internally as designing the bathroom around the bath, and that these are functional pieces of art. So as much as some people love taking tubs, lots of people don't, but they need a tub because it's an element of the bathroom. So why not make it a statement, and like I said, more of a functional piece of art. So once we started chatting a bit back and forth with one another, we decided there were some really, really nice synergies. One of them, well, both of them handle a lot of the production. One of them is a bit more of our financial backer. And then I, really steward a lot of any of the creative direction, social media aspects, sales, and just kind of keep everyone rounded and keep everything moving within the production.
Right.
I signed on as creative director, and then you quickly learn that when you're the owner of a business, your hands are in everything.
Many hats.
many hats. And so, but it's been a really, really fun learning experience because, like I said earlier, I think of myself as much as an artist as I do as a business person. So to take this challenge on has been very exciting. So we worked together for about 2.5 years, developing everything, getting everything really solidified over here in the US. All of our products are made in Los Angeles. And then we launched a little over a year and a half ago, which has been, again, something so exciting. And I never thought, well, I did think this actually. I thought we'd be here, and
Right.
I hoped we'd be here. But now our very first client was the very first tub we sold, physically got payment for a tub, was from Miley Cyrus, which was a fun, just exciting way to kind of launch the brand. And that was featured in Architectural Digest. And her designer is the one who stewarded that, which I will forever be grateful for that. Say that again.
Good PR.
Great PR, yeah. And then, things kind of kept trickling on that front. And we've now had multiple features in Architectural Digest. We've done a couple stints in filming with HGTV with a really fun designer called Alison Victoria. Leanne Ford, who also has a lot of programming on HGTV. She's purchased many tubs. So it's those are like the fun little PR moments, and
Mm-hmm.
then we also have just really, really amazing, exceptional design firms and architecture firms using our products, as well as hotels for hospitality. We're going into some of the new One hotels, and we're working with the Aman over in Utah for a lot of residences they're doing out there, and just it's always exciting when you see people come over and ask questions that I've admired for so many years,
Right.
and then now they're coming to me saying, "Hey, I saw what you posted on your social media," or a lot of times it's me just sending a DM to a lot of these people and saying, "Hey, I don't know if you know who I am, but I know who you are, and I love following you, and I have this product line now. I'd love to introduce you." And I have to say that rate of return is pretty exceptional. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people respond to those DMs because I think they are happy that they're hearing straight from like the owner of the company versus like a salesperson,
Right.
kind of trying to sell them something. I will say we just hired our first salesperson, which I couldn't be more excited about. She worked at Waterworks for 15 years. She's fantastic, and I think she's going to do wonderful things for us. But I think for that initial year and a half onset, and even still to this day, me reaching out and being that point person, it just means something more than, again, a standard kind of sales rep. So that is something that, again, is very, very, very exciting. And we just launched our new online website, which we sell everything through the website now. It's all very, very, very easy to purchase and easy to navigate. So that's vaststudio.com. And the company's name, the ethos of it, vast being the word of just being able to do anything, is just kind of, again, how we think of our brand DNA. Anything in the world of concretes, plasters, and metals is we can
That makes
do,
sense. All right.
So the idea of it being vast, is quite, I don't know, it just has a good synergy to it. So that's, like I said, that's something that takes up a lot of my time.
You're
And
juggling
I'm
there.
juggling a lot. It's always funny. I say, like, how actors moonlight, or they have their the job that pays the bills, whether
Right.
they're a waiter or doing something like that. Like, I always joke that I'm moonlighting as a designer, with like multi-million-dollar projects just to like keep my life going. And then I have Vast, which is something that I hope one day soon takes over to where that could be my full time and career in that aspect. But for now, it is juggling the both just to make sure that the resources are there.
How many items are in the product line?
We have 6 tubs and 6 sinks, so essentially 6 vessels of
Mm-hmm.
each tub and sink, and then we've got about 14 finishes. So, like I said, we have an elevated concrete, is what we call it, and the outside is a bit more of a really beautiful plaster finish, and then we have a textured concretes that are multiple colors, and then we've got metals that are either smooth or, again, a textured metal. So that could be brass, black iron, silver. And so we kind of run the gamut of what you might want for a project. And there's some things that are a bit more flashy, again, like the brass per
Mm-hmm.
se. But then with this really, really beautiful elevated concrete, we have a bone color, a gray, a black, and an earth brown. And those tend to lend itself to something if people wanted to just really feel like it's making a presence, but without maybe overshadowing other elements in the bathroom. So I feel proud that we kind of have the ability to kind of fit into a lot of different design schemes, whether it's traditional, super modern, contemporary. We really do believe that we've kind of allowed ourselves to play in the world of a lot of different design aesthetics without being too overwhelming either,
Right.
because I think that's something that people get in trouble with a lot of times with product lines. They offer 100 different colors, a
Interesting.
million different shapes, and it's like, you know what? Like, you should be able to trust us in terms of like the brand of what works in the project. And between our 6 tubs and our 15 shape colors, you're going to have something fantastic,
Right.
and you don't need to rack your brain with, like I said, 55 different colors and 70 different shapes of a tub. Like, it's just not necessary. Good design is good design, and it's a limited amount of good design,
Right.
So we don't need you to spin your wheels thinking about, again, 700 different options.
Makes perfect sense. Now,
Yeah.
are you direct to retail or are you wholesale? And
So yeah, we do direct to consumer through the website, so anyone can go and purchase it. We have a really great trade and distribution program. So we offer trade discounts to architects, designers, builders, and then we also have a distribution platform. And we're actually going. Our first distributor is Perch, which is a really high end plumbing retailer. And we are launching. They have 7 locations in Southern California, which is all of their locations, and we're doing our first rollout with them going into all 7 stores. So we're doing a lot of really beautiful displays as we speak. We're building them all out. So we'll have our products as well as our materials like on the wall of the displays. And then we're doing a few window displays for them, which will be rotating quarterly throughout the 7 different showrooms. So it's a big step for us, because we've been asked to be in distribution since the day we launched. But for me personally, I wanted to keep our brand identity a little bit close to the vest. I didn't want to just be another tub in a graveyard of tubs, sitting at some massive distributor. So for me, it's very important in terms of any distribution we go into that it is branded, it is very vast, centric, because I want the consumer to walk in and say, oh, I get it. Like, that's vast. That's what I want. This is perfect for our home. And easy for the designer to also explain to the client, because that can also sometimes be a challenge. So I think the entry to Perch will be beautiful. And then we're having some really beautiful discussions with a very, very big brand overseas in Europe that I probably cannot say the name of at this point, but we are very excited because I think they are going to be potentially acting as our distributor. And they make but they make taps, right? So they make all the faucets and showers, but they don't have a line of tubs and sinks. So to be aligned with them, they're a 200-year-old company. They know what they're doing, And so for us to be able to kind of jump on board with them and have them steer us in the right direction to get our products over into Europe. My business partners, 2 of them, well, both of them, they're both British as well. So it's kind of fun. I met the CEO of this company at an event. We started chatting. He didn't know who I was. I didn't know who he was. And one thing led to another. And I was like, wait a minute, like this could be really amazing. Like we could do some really good stuff here. So that's something that's also exciting for us to see how that appeals to a different market. We've sold things to Europe on our own, so we know that there's a desire for it. But to be able to, like I said, be in alignment with a company that's been doing it for such a long time, I think will be something really, really special for hopefully years to come.
so, how do you balance your time?
Well, it's
do you get
something
sleep?
something I talk to my therapist about in length. No, who am I kidding? I don't have time for therapy. I will say I stopped drinking 3 years ago. Not for any other reasons than it was a choice, right? I didn't have an addiction or anything like that, which is equally important if people need to stop for that reason. But there was something that just wasn't working in my world, drinking and then trying to run at all cylinders. So it was causing me just an immense amount of anxiety. And since that moment in my time where I decided to cut that out, it does free up so much more time because you are just like, ready to go. Like when you wake up, and I'm not saying you can drink and still be very productive, I'm sure. But for me personally, that's been a very, 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 I don't know, beneficial part of this aspect. And it's allowed me to have more time and more energy to focus on things that truly inspire me and really matter. And I want to make something, a legacy in this world and with what I do. So it's one thing to design an amazing, incredible home. It's something else to be able to say, I gave back. I was able to help steward something with this great foundation, I was able to build a product line that will be able to be run for years and years and years to come. Like that stuff to me takes it to another level of just purpose in life. And I think that that's exciting.
It's serving your life well, I think.
Yeah. And, and maybe I'll get a podcast one day too,
There you go.
So
Hey.
now that now this is my first entry, we'll see how that goes. But, I love entertainment. I would love the idea. I've been, positioned in certain moments for doing different shows and things like that, like being the designer on different networks. And I think because of my background in, acting and the modeling world, like I feel very comfortable with that kind of. And then even being able to do these things with HGTV for Vast, it's just fun. I like that stuff. So I guess that's my elevator pitch for anyone listening. That is something that would be really fun. I think even building a show around building Vast would be exciting. Because there's so many things that go into building a brand, let alone
So many
a new brand, and a design brand, and then also balancing like I have a full career to make sure I can keep building the brand. There's
Right.
so many things that go on day in, day out that I actually think would be quite interesting as a viewer. So let me just add that to the list too.
Why not?
So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, what motivates, inspires you, Ryan?
I'm very, very, very visual, which I guess most designers would be.
A little bit.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. I think for me, I also grew up in a very like a world that was difficult in the aspect of I am severely dyslexic. I joke around that I can barely spell my own name. It's like I'm very, very right-brained. So I can't. For me, the idea of going this traditional path of school and studies and all that stuff, I tried, but it was not clicking. My brain doesn't work like that. My brain works by doing, by, I guess, applying things in a way that I can see it and achieve it. So I think if I'm being inspired or what inspires me, it's just the daily routine of my life. Like I have to feel like the things that I'm putting out there and the things that I'm doing are not only benefiting myself, but hopefully benefiting others, which is, I guess, why design works well for me, because I do feel like I'm benefiting my clients or anyone that I'm able to bring into the fold, different artisans and things like that. So I think I'm just inspired by the actual collaboration of how the business of design works. And that took me many years to understand that there's a real business behind design. I think at the beginning I thought, oh, it's just so much fun and like
It just
you're making
appears.
beautiful.
It just happens.
Yes, like you're making beautiful houses, and then you realize pretty quickly that if you don't have the business alignment, things will get off track very, very, very quickly.
Right.
And I can't tell you how many people I know that are immensely creative, like have more creativity in their pinky than I do in my own body, but they don't have the they don't have the business ability. So if you can't harness your creativity and put that into some sort of a business model, a plan, set some goals and stick to it, then you're just you're like that guy on the side of the road, like at the car washes, just like floundering around, like that's what I think a lot of my designer friends can be like at times. And you got to be able to stand on solid ground, and just really achieve things. And for me too, like having a great team behind me, whether that's my senior designers or assistants. I mean, I rely on that because like I said, I'm not skilled in the aspect of being able to like write very businessy emails, and I rely on people to help me with that. And like I said, I've gotten a lot better over the years, but I'm the guy who speaks every email, every text you'd ever get from me. I'm dictating it into my phone. I'm like that weirdo at the grocery store, like talking to his phone, and if I didn't do that, it would be a disaster because things would be totally discombobulated and not spelled correctly. And I'm a big proponent of voice memos, which I think a lot of my staff wants to kill me because I send these voice memos. I try to keep them under a minute, but sometimes it's impossible. And I think it's like a quick way to like get your point across and by sending a voice note. But That's just like I said, it's just what works for my brain.
Do you think you take challenges and risk in your design and creativity?
I think I'm always taking risks and challenges, and I think that's why I'm, I guess, where I'm at today. And to that point, there's been many times where I was like, I cannot do that. I'm absolutely not going to, because I was so fear based, right?
Right.
And then I remember the very first big project I had in Beverly Hills. I walked someone through that project with me before I signed that I was going to do it. And I just looked up at this house and I was like, and it had to be gutted. And, it was a big, big, big project. And then I was like, I can't do it. Like, I just can't. This is over my head, over my pay grade. I need to let them know that, I guess I have imposter syndrome, right? So I was just very much like, I can't. And that person looked at me and said, look what you did with this Malibu project. That was the very first one I did. Mm-hmm. Look what you've done with other things, from that point forward. This is a big change and a big chapter, but you have to just embrace the fear and just jump through it, or you'll not ever grow, and I remember thinking, like, is this guy right? Like, I don't know about that. But I said, okay, I guess I'll jump, and then cut to that project, turned out fantastic. And I ended up getting published on a cover of a magazine. And so I think all these things in life have led me to this place of like, if you're not fearful, then you're probably not doing something right. Like, I think you do want to have the little bit of the fear in the belly to get you to say, like, this means I'm pushing myself and this means I'm growing. Sure. So yeah, I think I take challenges and risks all the time.
What's next for you? I mean, you got so much on your plate now, and again, congratulations on LA Room and Board. What's
Thank
next
you.
for Ryan White?
Well, I'll probably get married and no. I think what's next is really harnessing this this next chapter of Vast. I think this big Malibu project, like I said, is a bit of a game changer. I do think it will open up some other large doors within the design side of my brand, which I will continue to grow, and I'm very excited about that. But I want to see Vast hit a mark that is to a level of exceeding all my expectations and others. I really do want to. I set out not wanting to be like an actual, bespoke line where we're just doing one-offs. That's all good and well for some people, and it's a good business in at certain aspects. But I want this to be kind of a household name. Whether it's like a waterworks or even restoration. I think we have the ability to move. We started in tubs and sinks, but we have the ability to do a lot of other avenues, whether it be outdoor furniture or wall panels, and things that could build the brand into an even bigger alignment. And that's going to take a lot of time and resources, to like give that. So my goal is to continue to just push as hard as I can while keeping a balance. I really do. I would say at this point in time, I'm finding the balance. I'm trying. I know I have a lot on my plate. I know there's a lot coming at me, but I'm still trying to enjoy life too, and not just be so all consumed with work and putting the phone down and, just getting recharged, I guess, because we can all deplete the battery so quickly, and then and then the battery's just low, So I need a plug in like the iPhone, and just like plug me up, So I try to replug myself. And as long as I think I can keep that balance, then I think honestly, the possibilities are really endless for everything in my life.
So, do you sit in your own tub and create tubs?
I love a tub moment. I love a beautiful kind of meditative experience in that atmosphere. Also, like, we do cold plunge tubs with our pools too, which cold plunges have become so increasingly popular. I actually am trying to get a hold of. There's a company called Plunge, and they are, I think, kind of the biggest in the company when it comes to cold plunge. So I'd love to like collaborate with them and do some, Vast studio with Plunge or something, and do like a really amazing actual plunge tub with them for those cold plunge moments. And I also think that like us being able to facilitate other collabs with companies is very exciting too, you know. So I'm talking with a company called Concrete Collaborative that does a lot of really amazing like tiles and all this kind of fun, very, very like colorful stuff. But I think if we did some one-offs with companies like that that already have a really big following in their industry, it could be a really good synergy within one with for each other. And then we've, you know, had the idea of even collaborating with like high-end brands, whether that be like Gucci or Louis Vuitton or something. And we have the ability to do embossed kind of stuff around our metals. So, you know, to do an LV embossed tub or something would be quite exciting, you know. So I think that I think there's just so much possibility in this category. And like I said earlier, there was definitely a white space for a brand that is seeing the tub environment as something that can be, you know, not just like relaxing, but it can be sensual, it can be meditative, it can, you know, it can just be a lot of things that all of us would like to achieve on our daily routine. And then even just visually stimulating, you know, like I said, some people don't take bathtubs, but to have that tub in your primary bathroom and be able to be kind of inspired by walking by it every day, like why not? You know, like we do it with other art pieces. So
Exactly.
why would you, you know, want to settle for something subpar when you could get something really amazing?
Yeah, it could be functional and it could be very artistic and a focal point.
Yeah, exactly.
So, in the last 13 years of your career, is there anything that you can see that I'll do that again? I'd love to repeat that project, and others that you like, never again, never again.
Well, like I said, LA Room and Board, I hope to continue to repeat, you know, and work with them. And I really do hope we can find some other great facilities. I think the idea of this Malibu project being that it's been an A to Z kind of environment with the architecture and design all coming from our side. I love that process. I do. I think it'd be hard for me at this point to like, if someone called me up and said, "Hey, I have this house. I just want you to furnish it." You know, I think I'd do it if it was like the right thing, but it doesn't have as much excitement around it. You know, I really have enjoyed the process of hiring the team and overseeing a lot of it. I think that is just really fulfilling. Maybe one day I'll just do it all for myself. You know, that might be a fun goal. If Vast, you know, when that kind of takes off even more, I think the idea of buying properties to then really redo them on my own
Right.
and then sell them, you know, could be great. I've worked once with a partner and we did a really cool development project in Los Feliz. That was very fun. But it doesn't work really unless you have, you know, a very large amount of money in my mind. Like it's to make the returns. It's for like the 1 million, 2 million, $3 million house. It's hard to really make a good, you know, number off those. So
Right.
you kind of got to really go for it if you're going to do it. And that just requires a bit more capital. And, you know, capital that I plan to have one day very soon to be able to like maybe embark on that. But even this Malibu thing, I think I could definitely see developers now coming to us saying, wow, like what you were able to achieve on this property is something that we would love to do. And we love the idea of it not feeling like a developer property, you know, because I think that's where a lot of these people hit the home runs, you know, is when they literally are. It's kind of, I don't know if you're familiar with Sandy Gallen, but he was an amazing designer and, you know, had done a lot of beautiful stuff in the world of design. And he basically did his houses like the whole model of just bring your toothbrush, you know, so people would just buy the houses furnished, towels, everything,
Turnkey.
you know, turnkey, the playlist going, you know, and like I said, just bring your toothbrush. So that's the stuff that kind of inspires me, I guess, more or less, because I do believe that we really create an environment for our clients, not just a beautiful home, but we're, like I said, also about the Nancy Meyer film. I feel like when you walk into a house we've done, you feel like you're walking into the film of some sort because all that energy's there. So
as a creative visionary, I'm sure you have a long list of things you want to achieve. What's next on your achievement list besides everything that you've done? And inspire to do and continue forward with, what's on your hit list?
I think on my list of things that I'd want to, I don't know, kind of push for or achieve.
Short term and long term.
Yeah, short term, I'd say is definitely, again, and this isn't really regarding design or career. It's finding a balance, and I think that that's so imperative to be successful. So I'm trying to make sure that that is at the forefront of my mind every day. But I think the ability to like continue to just be open to other things that come into my life is something that I think is beautiful, because I think a lot of us can get overwhelmed by the immense pressure, or again, a lot of things that are already happening. But I'd like to say that I'm still, if someone came to me tomorrow with the most amazing idea and said, we think you'd be a great fit for this, or vice versa, I said to someone, hey, you know what? I think I could do this with you, and that would be exceptional. I would see if I could take it on, because I don't think any of us should be beholden to just one or two or three kind of career paths. There could be something tomorrow that opens up that is just the path that is now my new reality, I guess. So I think that would be short term and long term, is just to stay open to all of these things that come my way. Just like when I was an actor and a model, I never thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be designing $25 million houses. Like I never thought that ever, right? And like I said, it's not like I went to school for design or anything, but I was open to someone saying, hey, we see something in you. We think you have a talent. And I jumped, to do that, which, again, at that time was a big deal, and then, but now being at a career and at a level where we're doing these $25-30 million properties, that is, again, something I never could have thought of in my wildest dreams, especially coming from a smaller-ish town in Colorado and then a university like Montana. I honestly thought in college that I was destined for like nothing, like really. And I feel sad saying that, but like I really did. I felt like there's no way in this world that I'm going to be able to be successful, because my trajectory of learning wasn't fitting like the landscape of how it was being told that I had to learn. So by, opening a book and reading and all these things, this is how you learn. This is how you grow. This is how you become successful. And I failed at every single juncture of that. Like I graduated with a 2.4 grade point average and got into one school, which was University of Montana, probably because I was paying out of state tuition. And, I was at 2 years of university and I did not pass a single class in 2 years. And I remember my mom being like, okay, we got to figure this out. Like
Got to do something with yourself.
Yeah, you can't just be paying all this money and not pass classes. So it was a godsend that, again, I was kind of given the opportunity by a large agency to then go move to New York at 19 and start that career path. But again, even that moment in my life was just being open to something different and trusting, whether you want to call it God or the universe or whoever, but like I trusted that there was some sort of a higher power that was going to guide me, because I knew that what I was seeing with my kind of, goggles on was one way and one way only, and to be honest, no one around me was telling me that it could be done in any other way. So, but I trusted that there was some kind of outcome that was going to be, I don't know, I guess going to be more aligned to the way that I was supposed to navigate this world. And, by being able to like just say, I can like jump and be open to these things, is now what led me to here, from being an actor and a model to then being a designer to now being an owner of a large product line. Like who knows what that next thing's going to be, so we'll see.
A book?
A book, a
Podcast
podcast,
host. Yeah.
a podcast, a TV show, I think all those things are stuff that would be really on my, short list of things that I would give a lot of thought to. And honestly feel like I'd have a lot of fun doing it, because I feel like it's something that I have a bit of a knack for, but also something that makes me feel excited.
So it's interesting that you made, going back to your comment, that because Douglas Friedman and two other designers that I've spoken to all said, well, yeah, we never thought we'd amount to anything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they're the hugely successful people in their industry and what they do. So,
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I know Douglas. I'll have to give him a ring and say, hey, look, we both thought we were going to not amount to anything, and look at us now.
Yeah, exactly. The proof is there.
Yeah.
The
I think,
creative
again,
minds.
yeah, right. And I think a lot of creatives probably struggle with that because the way that creatives learn is, again, very different than what it's kind of taught, that way that you should learn. So I think, yeah, if anything, even me saying that makes me realize that I need to continue to support myself, to say, hey, look, like, you don't have to beat to anyone else's drum. This is your life, this is your world, and you got to figure it out on what works for you. And that's also something that I think is very powerful, is that no one's going to do anything for you. You might be led to the water, right? But you have to drink. So, like, there's been many times in my life that if I didn't really do it on my own and push for it, it just never would have happened, And there's probably circumstances where I probably could have tried something and I was too fearful, and it didn't happen, So I think anyone, kind of, I guess, going through something similar, I think if anything, it's just imparting that you really should just like take the leap, because if you fail, what's the worst thing? I mean, obviously we all grow from our failures and learn from our failures. So, and that's just going to propel you to like the next thing that will ultimately make you successful. So.
Well, Ryan, I appreciate your time today. It's been a pure joy chatting with
Yeah.
you. Any closing
Thank you.
comments you want to add?
Well, I do think that you and I might just have to start our own podcast together.
There you go. Hey, why not?
No, I wanted to really honestly just say thank you so much for taking the time. I was happy and honored to even think that someone would want to take the time to listen to like a touch of my, story. So thank you for taking the time and, giving me the platform to do that. I really appreciate it. That's very, very, very nice of you. Thank you.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Anytime. You can always come back. You can always fill in. You can always fill in,
Totally.
I need some downtime. Well, sir, enjoy your day, and thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll talk soon.
Okay.